No matter what, there's always a dog story in the newspaper. Always. Hey, I'm Damon Garcia. Welcome to the first episode ever of Newspaper Liturgy. And today we're talking about all the crazy violence that has been going on and the absurdity of forgiveness. Now, what does that mean, newspaper liturgy? Well, liturgy is a historic church term that in Latin literally just means work of the people. Things like the prayers, the songs, the sermon, the communion. And I personally believe that spirituality only matters if it has something to say to the everyday slog of regular life. And that's where the newspaper comes in. I believe it's extremely important to be involved and to know what's going on in today's world, because today's world is crazy. Like, so crazy. You got the divisiveness of the election where everyone wants to jump to the extremes. We have the tremendous distrust in the system that is in place. Trump and the Russians, I feel like it's the 1960s hearing everyone say, the Russians. People be hacking, yo. We have fake news and leaked news and news stations acting like TMZ for politicians. There is so much drama and there is so much confusion and there is so much divisiveness. And I believe today we need a new way of approaching the news and a new way of approaching spirituality. So I want to spark that new way with this new series. And I want to start conversations about the things that matter most. So let's do this. First episode ever. We've just been through the first week of the new year and already we're hearing terrifying things. The 4 African American young adults in Chicago who kidnapped a white mentally challenged young adult and tortured him on Facebook Live. The man in Florida who killed 5 people in the Fort Lauderdale airport. And Dylan Roof, the young man guilty of the church massacre in Charleston, in his sentencing saying he does not feel guilty for what he did, and even saying that there is nothing psychologically wrong with him. There's an anger that stirs within us all when we hear these stories. And when someone tries to make an argument for there being pure evil in the world, these are the stories we think of. But it's too easy to just call it pure evil. These people are humans killing humans, and both have the potential for love and for hate. These stories that disturb us are about people who chose hate. And in all these stories, I see so many people calling for these criminals to be beaten and killed. And it's so violent, but it makes so much sense to feel that way because I think we all have that desire for justice within us. If you've ever said the word should, you have some sort of moral compass. But meeting violence with violence seems too easy. Even though Dylan Roof said he felt no regrets, some of the family members of the victims said they forgive him. At a hearing through a television screen, the family told him, "I forgive you, and may God have mercy on you." And I saw so many people respond to that, like, how can you be so foolish? How can you just let him off the hook like that? Saying they're foolish and stupid for forgiving a man like that. But I admire these people. They said, we're doing this because we're not going to let hate win. And yes, forgiveness is absurd. Obviously. It is so absurd. It makes no sense to forgive those who have done us wrong. And yet when we do wrong, we still all long to be forgiven. Christians follow a man who was abandoned by everyone, beaten, and brutally, violently murdered, and on his execution stake said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And then he raises from the dead and comes back to all his friends who betrayed him and abandoned him, and he doesn't even bring it up. Instead, his first words are, "Do you have anything to eat?" Rising from the dead probably builds up an appetite. And he embraces them and loves them and forgives them. Before that, Peter had asked in Matthew 18, "Lord, if a brother sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times?" Because we're always trying to figure out the right amount to forgive. We're always trying to figure out the exact moment to just let them go. And Jesus responds to that by saying, "Not 7 times, but I tell you, 77 times." Now he's not being literal, he's not saying the number is not 7, it's 77, but he's multiplying his view to show that I want you to forgive endlessly. And I don't imagine Peter's heart was warmed by that response. Like any of us, I'm sure he was frustrated with that response. None of us want to hear that. But when you do, you're choosing a certain path. You're choosing the path of love instead of hate. Because when hate is met with hate over and over and over, it builds you up into a certain kind of person. And when you respond to hate with love over and over and over, that also builds you up to a certain kind of person. A person who believes a very specific story about the world. Is this world made better by responding to violence with violence? Abusing the abusers again and again until they're all gone? Or is this world made better through love, through forgiveness, through grace? During the election, I love how Mark Ruffalo said that we're all longing for a graceful America to come into being. And I am longing for a graceful America. I really am. That's what I want to see. And as followers of Jesus, we believe in this grace the most. A vulgar grace, as Brennan Manning says. And this may sound idealistic and, like I said, absurd, but this is how we move forward. This is how we progress, by choosing to put others above ourselves and loving the unlovable, forgiving the unforgivable, and embracing those who we all just want to push away. Not that we just let them free, but we approach the system differently, and we approach the way these stories affect us differently. I want to end these things with prayers, so this first one I want to end with the prayer of St. Francis, or the peace prayer. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born again to eternal life. Well, there you have it. First episode of Newspaper Liturgy. Let's do this again, yeah? Thanks for watching.
Buddy, gent, oh please.